Hello, and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is the podcast where we speak to performers, mavericks, and amazing people from across the entertainment world. Now, today's guest is Emily Davis, or if you go up to the Fringe, you may know her as Blodwen. She's an excellent cabaret artist and a cabaret artist that conquers the Edinburgh Fringe by the balls when a lot of comedians shiver away from it. Am I all right with using the word balls, Emily?
Yeah, yeah,
Fair enough. But yeah, she conquers the Edinburgh Fringe. Those that see her love her. The head of the PBH Fringe loves her. She's got many stories to tell, and we're going to absolutely love her. Please welcome Emily Davis.
I feel like someone ought to clap.
Ah,
Thank you. That was a lovely welcome. Thanks very much.
thank you, man. If you're going to compare that welcome to a favorite food of yours, what would you say it was?
Um, well, you know what, this might sound, you might take offense at this, okay? But I have to tell you that if I could only eat one thing for the rest of my life, it would be a tuna sandwich from the bakery around the corner from my house because it's the most delicious thing that I've ever eaten, and I have to stop myself from having it too much so that I don't get bored of it. But I would say that was a really good tuna sandwich.
Oh, thank you. I like that. Oh, is there any Welsh dishes that are quite interesting or like unique that people need to know about?
Well, there's loads, aren't there? There's things like obviously you've got your Welsh cakes and your bara brith that you have at tea time. So bara brith is like it's kind of like fruit cake, fruit or sort of fruity bread cake. I'm gonna get if anybody Welsh is listening to this, I'll probably get in a lot of trouble for describing it like that. Um, there's Welsh rarebit, which is effectively fancy cheese on toast. Cawl is probably my favourite Welsh dish, which is a hearty, chunky soup that generally gets made in the springtime.
Hmm.
Lamb and vegetables. Highly recommend it. Serve it with some nice crusty bread and a bit of cheese. You can't go wrong.
No, okay, I'm gonna eat them. I've turned a bit of foodie. I had a bit of so I went to True Flavors, which is a Jamaican restaurant in Brixton. And yeah, I want to add a bit. A few people mentioned to me at a comedy I run about foods and great places. I gave it a go. The goat curry is delicious. The place was a bit scary though, and the thing that this surprised me is that when you go into the restaurant, they don't take payment up front. They take it after they've made the order. And if that's the way to do things, that's the way to do things. But I just thinking, wouldn't someone just go and steal it?
Well, you
But
didn't do that, I hope.
no, I didn't. I didn't. I would probably get battered if I did that, so I won't. No, it was good food. I recommend it. But yes. But anyway, what is also a delicious and goat curry from Jamaica is your entertainment journey, I should say, your fringe journey. Tell us a bit about like how you became a cabaret artist and what led to Bloodwind and what's made you the Don of the Edinburgh Fringe.
Well, first of all, I would say it's very nice of you to say that I'm the Don of the Edinburgh Fringe, but I'm far from that. But I do love it. So you know, I can say that much about it. That I love going up there, and I think I'm developing a bit of an addiction to it. Um, but I started in cabaret. Well, I kind of made my first foray into cabaret, if you like, in about 11 years ago when I did a course called the Singers Cabaret Workshop that was run by Paulus and Jamie Anderson. And it was off the back of my singing teacher saying to me, I think you might be funny. And at the time, I I wasn't offended, but I was sort of it's not really what I wanted to hear because I was thinking that I wanted to go to drama school to do postgrad in musical theatre. So, you know, I was kind of taking all these songs to hear, like big dramatic, um, quite often sad numbers, about the kind of things that nobody really wants to listen to, but everybody wants to sing. Um, and yeah, she sort of made this comment that she said, I think you might be funny, and I think cabaret might be something that suits you. And I didn't really know what cabaret was. And she said, have a look, see if you can find any courses. And so I found this singers cabaret workshop, and it was a 2-week course that Paulus L. Martin, I don't know if you know who he is, but he is a bit of a cabaret legend, really. He's sort of been there, done that. He's amazing. And his partner in crime at the time, who were teaching that course together, Jamie Anderson, they did a 2-week workshop where it was 9 to 5 every day, going in just to understand the art of cabaret and how to perform and that kind of thing. And it was for singers. And at the end of it, we did a performance. And one of the things that I learned throughout that course was about the sort of authenticity of cabaret, and the here and now of it. And one of the things that they encouraged me to do was to lean into my Welshness. So Blodwen was actually born, if you like, in August 2013 when I did that performance, because it was a kind of introductory story about my moving to London. It was a 20-minute set told through song. But I was performing as Emily Davis, and then I started doing things. I started doing spots, and I started putting shows together, and doing lots of different things, and just trying to kind of learn the craft, if you like. And it was about 5 years ago that I just realized that I found it really difficult to perform with Emily, and I just couldn't separate myself from what was going on stage, and I felt like I needed something. And I realized what I needed was basically a pseudonym, just to I needed to step on stage and not feel all of the different Emilys were getting on the stage. I just wanted to be the Emily, the bits of me that I wanted to share. So I decided to give myself a name, and that name was Blodwen. And so I've been performing in cabaret as Blodwen ever since. I mean, I do lots of other stuff. I've worked as a host, and I do a lot of singing stuff, sometimes just straight things. I've done weddings and christenings and that sort of thing. But I find for the stuff that I want to write, when I want to tell stories, having a character, I just find it a lot easier to think of it as kind of to separate myself from the performance, essentially. So yeah, and then I had this show that I developed called Blodwen's in Town, which was about moving from a really small village in Wales to London and all the sort of culture shocks that go around it. And I decided I want to take it to the Fringe. And that was in 2019. And then obviously there was a pandemic. So I didn't actually get around to go until 2022. But that's what sort of, I think I'd sort of always flirted with the idea of the Edinburgh Fringe, but didn't really know what I'd do. And then this show just sort of grew organically out of different pieces of material that I put together over the years. And I thought, okay, I've got this hour of content, I've got this show, it's got a nice hook, I enjoy performing it, I'm going to take it to the Fringe. So I did, and that was the first time that I went. And then I've been, that was 2022, so it's only 3 years ago, but I've been every year since. And every time I go, it's a lot of work getting up there, but I get back at the end of August, and I just cannot wait to get back there again.
What is it that makes, from what I hear from like Luke and all that, what is it do you feel that makes your show smash it with the Fringe and like big, getting audiences, getting people to enjoy it and all that?
I think, well, I mean, so I've done, the consistent thing about the shows that I've taken to the Fringe is Blodwen. So the character's consistent, but every time I've gone, I've taken a different show. So the first one was about moving to London. The second one was about spending a year in Paris. And the one that I've just finished, that I did this year, that I'm probably going to take back next year, is called Blodwen's in Business. And it's about the falling in love with the corporate world and falling out of love of it, and the sort of the trying to escape the rat race. And I think that, I mean, what people tell me is that Blodwen is likable, and it's based on my own life, so I'm telling true stories. I changed the sort of names of people and stuff, and trying like slightly remove it from reality, because there are I don't, you've got to be a bit sensitive, haven't you, about some of these things. But the that's all it is, it's just storytelling, and it's not anything groundbreaking. I'm not kind of I'm probably not saying anything that anybody hasn't said before. I'm just telling the stuff that's true, that has happened to me, that I've been through. And I think people can relate to it, because very often I'm only talking about things that they might not be the exact same thing that's happened to somebody else. But I think that's what one of the things, not the only thing, but one of the things that I think audiences want to see, is they want to feel like they can relate to you. And I so it's my third year this year, and one thing that's really gratifying that I started to see, which just makes me super super happy, is people coming back, and people going, oh, we saw you last year, so we were looking for you this year. And that's when I get repeat business, if you like. That absolutely means the world to me, because it's sort of, it just means they've really bought into what it is that you're doing. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's I think the thing about the Fringe as well is every type of person is there, so yes, I can put on a show that maybe lots of people aren't interested in, but so many people go to the Fringe that people who are interested in the kind of thing that I do, they will find it, so that's the beauty as well of being up there for that month, because the hordes do descend. And a bit like, as an audience member, when you go to the Fringe, there is definitely going to be something that interests you. That's a wonderful thing. But if you flip it around the other way, as a performer, there probably will be somebody who's interested in what you're doing, because you do get such a huge influx of people into the city, and people who are interested in art and theatre and creativity and kind of whatever it is that they're interested in. But there's a lot of people about, aren't there?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, what what did you yeah, what do you feel that is, from what you've seen in the Fringe, what do you feel is a key component in people that have a successful Fringe, that get lots of crowds in, and ones that don't, from what you can see?
Well, do you know, I don't think there is a key component. I think there is no science to it. I think that there are people who, there's obviously, if you're famous, or then you've got a head start, haven't you? Because if you're a well-known comedian who's got a good following on TV, you take a show to the Fringe, you're going to sell it out. You've probably got PR behind you. But I know people who've taken shows up there, who've put a lot of money in PR, and who've got reviews, and who've done a lot of outhand advertising where they've got posters and stuff all around the city, and they still have had days where there's nobody come in, and I know people who, like me, I do free shows, and the audience size fluctuate. I might have a rammed room one day, and then two people in the next day, and I might be doing exactly the same thing every day, so I can never put a finger on why it is. And the thing that I think about the Fringe is that the important thing when you go up there is you need to not have any expectations, because I've heard so many stories of people throwing loads of money at PR, it getting them nothing, absolutely killing themselves flyering, trying to get an audience in, and it just not really working. And sometimes it's to do with the venue, where you are. Sometimes it's to do with the time of day that your show is. I think there's just so many variables, and I think I think you have to know what you're trying to get out of it when you go up there, because I think if you go up and just sort of think, oh well, if I sort of enact this formula, that's going to equal success, I think you're just going to end up disappointed, because like I say, I don't think there is any one thing. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and quite often luck, and sometimes trends of the moment. That, and because not, with things that are going on more widely in performing, or in the sort of zeitgeist, where something like, for 2022, right? When I was at Fingers Piano Bar, my show was on at 20 past 4, and after me at 5:30, there was a half-hour show called COVID the Musical, and it was absolutely packed every single day. They were really good at flyering. The two one of them particularly was really good at flying, really good at making connections with people, and happy to sort of go and chat and get people in. But if you did COVID the Musical now, nobody would be interested in it. But the first Fringe after the pandemic, great, people were just about ready to go and laugh at it all, and kind of take the mickey out of it a bit. So sometimes I think it is just about, you might get in that moment, you might have just picked the thing that everybody's talking about, but another year that sort of thing might not work. So I'm quite philosophical about it all. I sort of think, I know what I want to get out of it when I go up there, but I don't put massive expectations, and kind of like what success looks like in terms of numbers or audiences or that kind of thing, because I just think I've never heard the same. I've never heard the same story from more than one person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in the interview I did with Luke as well, and him saying that the people that make the most at the Fringe are ones that either go in there for the money or go in there to do something different. And I agree to an extent with that. My mindset is, if you're looking to get a big star from it, or get agents or reviews or this and that sort of thing's out of your control.
Mm.
Um, and I think I was talking to a South African guy, like a business guy. He said, if you put so much effort into things that are outside of your control, you're going to call yourself a lot of unnecessary stretch. What can you control? I think in the Fringe, what you can control is if you have specific aims of what you want to get better at,
Yeah,
and focus on that.
absolutely.
Or if you want to build a bit of an audience of people that regularly like what you do, like Jerry Sadowitz has done, there may be things you can control and you can focus on, or getting better, building an audience, learning,
Yeah,
getting better at your craft. They're the things you control. But trying to get famous or get tons of good reviews, you know, there's a person out on the podcast earlier, Dan Leese. He says reviews maybe just for people that like that show. It's
yeah,
not really anything else. You got to, if you're doing the Fringe and you're getting packed out audiences of regular people that like what you do, you can't be completely shit.
no, completely. Yeah, I think I mean, that point about, like you say, the things that you can get out of it. I've had very specific objectives every time that I've gone, and they've always been slightly different. And so far, I've come away feeling like every time I'm a better performer at the end than I was at the beginning. That's important to me, and you're going to be if you're standing up and doing a show every day for 23 days or however long it is. Well, maybe some people don't, but I just think it's great for discipline in that regard. Um, but I just try and focus on that, because it's so easy as well, when you're up there, to just sort of get lost in the noise, and to be, convince yourself that everyone else is doing really well, everyone's having a great run. And the I just personally, I find that I have to, as much as possible, just remind myself that there are things that I am trying to get out of this that are important for me. And it's that whole, comparison is the thief of joy thing, that there's absolutely no point looking at other people and wishing you were where they were, because it gets, it just makes you feel like crap, and it doesn't really do you any good. So yeah, I think that's what success looks like. You have to decide what success looks like for yourself. And like you say, I completely agree. I think it's really important to put parameters around success that are realistic goals that you can actually achieve yourself. I mean, I'm a solo performer, so there's there's a range, like so many ranges that you can. Everything is up there, isn't it? Theatre, dance, comedy, um, spoken word, cabaret, and all kinds of different stuff. So, um, I have a unique type of experience. I can only speak as somebody who does the kind of thing that I do. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful training ground, but it's also incredibly intense and chaotic and hard work. So you've just got to make it work for you, haven't you? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Following on from the fringe, um, what, how, what are things about being a cabaret performer at the fringe and being a cabaret performer in general that people don't understand and that annoys you when you're at the fringe? Like, what do you get any stupid questions like, oh, like compares at a lot of comedy shows to go, oh, you should be a comedian, and it's a bit like, no, they are a comedian. They warmed you up. Do you get that as a cabaret performer, or like after a fringe show, people ask you a stupid question that annoys you, and that's
Well, I don't know, not really. I think again, that I mean, the Fringe is a unique place, isn't it? And it's a bit like the you're not always, most of the time, people have an idea of what they're coming to see. That's not true of everybody, especially at the Free Fringe, because and if you're somewhere like I am, which is Fingers Piano Bar, where you there's no sort of holding pen. You open the door and you're in the performance space. So you might get people wandering off the street who've got no idea what's going on. But I think, I mean, mine is sort of I build them. I build the shows that I've been taking up to the Fringe as a musical comedy, because that's kind of what they are. They're sort of one woman musicals, but they're interactive, and it's not like a theatre piece. I talk to the audience a lot, and um, I like to share. I like to feel like we're sharing the experience. I don't think I don't think I've had any questions when I've been up there that annoy me. I'm just always really glad. I get excited if anybody just wants to talk to me. I just think, oh, isn't this great? That somebody has got something to say. And also the other thing I think about cabaret is, like, I didn't know, I didn't really understand what it was before I went and did a course where somebody taught me a lot about what it was. So I sympathize with people who don't really get it or don't really understand what it is, because I think it's a word that gets thrown about a lot, and people just think it means sort of lounge singers on cruise ships, or that they've got that sort of image in their mind of what constitutes cabaret. And cabaret means so much. It encompasses so many things. And so I can, if somebody did ask me, or say what it is that you're doing, or I think I'd probably be quite sympathetic towards them and maybe try and help them out.
so. What is it? No, I'm joking. No, with cabaret, one of the things that I want to. So, from someone that doesn't do it a lot, I think some of the images that I often get of it is I think of Jessica Rabbit. No, no. What I see of it, one thing that I am impressed with, and I've watched a couple of cabaret shows in Edinburgh, and I think I watched one in Acton Town, which was really good. The thing I found about it is that, yeah, they're just brilliant. The confidence, the stagecraft is amazing. I don't know what fully goes on behind the scenes, but it's incredible. And what can I say about it? The thing that really got me when I was chatting with Luke is the discrepancy in pay between comedy and cabaret. Because when he told me that 150 is just for a regular act in cabaret, that's like a headline set probably in the UK. A lot of comedians would bite your hand off for that. And you could probably even get TV names with that at certain nights of the week. So I find that very funny.
Yeah, well, do you know, I mean, I don't know that I don't think I've ever been paid £150 for a slot somewhere. Um, and I do a lot of self production. So at the moment, it's been now and again I do slots at different shows, and it's usually sort of, I don't know, 60 quid for 10 minutes or something like that. Um, but I haven't done that much of that kind of thing lately, because every year for the past 3 years I've been working on putting a show together. So I've done things like I've gone to the Tunbridge Wells Fringe, and I've put on shows at home in Wales, and like the Memorial Hall, which is, it's got a theatre, a stage in it, like where I'm from. And but also what I have started to get is, and some of this came out of the Fringe. So last year when I was there, I got picked up. The artistic director from the Wales Millennium Centre came to see me, and so he booked me for the cabaret program that following year. So I did a show at the Wales Millennium Centre in their cabaret space in April, and then I went back there in July to do previews of this show. So I've had opportunities like that come out of the Fringe, and also I've got like plenty of material where I could do spots here and there, and individual songs and things. But lately, over the past couple of years, mostly what I've been doing is full shows, and some of it's self-produced, and some of it is stuff that I've been booked to do. But the bookings that I've had, I did a sort of mini Welsh tour earlier on this year, and in a few different venues in South Wales, and they basically all came off the back of the Fringe. Because one thing led to another. So the Wales Millennium Centre put me in touch with some other places, and I went to somewhere called the Blackwood Miners Institute in Caerphilly, and then they put me in touch with other venues and said, oh, your show would really go down well here. So it's starting slowly to spiral out,
Oh,
which is great.
yeah, people complain about the Fringe being this and that, but I spoke to Dan Neese as well. Like, if you do well at the Fringe, you get producers talking to you, and as you said, you're doing well at the Fringe. It's giving you that. If you didn't go, you wouldn't have had the opportunity. So
No. And you don't, I mean, this year, so the first year I went, right, my goal was do it. I didn't know if I could do it. I was incredibly anxious the entire time I was up. I was like literally afraid to go out for like the first week. I was like, I can't, I just have to do my show every day. And that felt so overwhelming. And it felt really overwhelming to be up there that, I felt this huge sense of achievement just getting through it. And then the following year, what I wanted to do is see if I could write a new show. I just sort of wanted to test myself to see, like, can I do something that I feel is as worthy of taking up as what I did last year. So I went back to the same venue, stayed in a very similar area, kept as much as I could the same, to do a whole new different piece of work. And then it was much busier. I had a lot of repeat business. That's the year that I had the Peter Darney come from Wales Millennium Centre, and I felt like at the end of it, I had a really good run. It was a lot busier. I took more money on the door, and I also enjoyed it a lot more because I'd done it once. I wasn't so afraid. And then this year, I wrote a new show, and I went back to the same venue, and I wanted to use it as a sort of testing ground, because I got the show together quite late. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to be more experimental this time than I normally am, and I'm going to use the Fringe as a test bed, and I might sort of swap things out and try out different things. And I did a bit of that, but also while I was up there this year, I was ill. For the first 10 days I had a bad chest, and for the last 5 days I had a bad stomach. So I spent a lot of time just really not being very well, but I still managed to do my show every day. And I got a review, and I'd never had a review before. And I also got a run of gigs out of it. So I had some takeaways, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't take as much money this year as I did the year before, but I felt like at the end that had grown sufficiently, and the that's kind of all I want, just to feel like I can call it an achievement, and it's not just sort of I've changed. I need to see some sort of change in myself.
Yeah. What was the what was it? Sorry. What was the sorry.
Right.
Um, yeah, but I've spoken to a lot of comedians about the Fringe this year, and they said it was a lot quieter than previous Fringes. Was that true?
Well, yeah. So for me, it felt quieter than last year, but busier than the first year. And I've only been up for 3 years, and I've only been post COVID. So everybody says to me, it used to be different, and it's also they say it's got a lot more expensive, but I don't really have anything in that regard like to compare it to because I feel like I've only been going up since people have been saying it's got really expensive. But I definitely felt my venue is in the new town, which is the um
Over the bridge.
yeah, over the bridge, and what I mean, the way that I know that it was quieter is because I took over the month £500 less than I did the month the year before, and I definitely didn't have as many super busy days this year. Last year I specifically remember, and I always make a video every day, just a couple of minutes when I come off stage, just to kind of like remind, sort of spew out, what was that like? How did it feel? What were the things I want to remember? And this year, I didn't have I didn't have as many really busy days. I always had an audience, so touch wood, I've never had an empty room. Um, and for me, that's all I care about really. As long as I've got somebody to perform to who wants to watch, I'm happy. Um, Obviously, I'd love it if it was full every day, but the again, you can't control that. You can do everything that you can to try and get people in, but you can't literally drag them in off the street. So I think it was a little bit quieter than last year. Um, but I don't feel qualified to kind of go, it's a lot quieter than it's always been because I just feel like my fringe journey's only just started.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I kept on hearing. Like they show pictures, this and that, and I didn't go. I mean, it just I know a few comedians went around other people's houses to rent. Like they went on the sofa bed. I just didn't want to do that, and I just thought I left it all too late. I'm not spending like thousands of pounds just for a couple of days or a week.
Mm.
It's just ridiculous.
I mean,
Um,
it was busy. The streets were busy, and I went to plenty of shows that were sold out. You know, so it's not like there was nobody there. But and again, it's one of those things. It's hard to qualify, isn't it? And I think probably if you've been up there regularly for a long period of time, you probably can say, from the way that you feel or the things that you see, that it does or doesn't feel busy. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's so expensive as a as a visitor to go up. The first year I went, I had a few people come and visit. Last year, a couple of my friends did, but they did. It was a special occasion. I can't remember. I don't know if this was their anniversary or something. They came up for the weekend, bank holiday, but they literally spent as much money going to Edinburgh for the weekend as they could have gone. They could have gone to Italy for a week.
hmm,
The so that's got to put people off. I don't know that if I would go as a punter, if I knew it was going to be sort of astronomical hotel or Airbnb prices, and and then you're going to spend a lot of money when you're there. You go. You're not only going to go to free shows and not give anything, and we are, coming out of a cost of living crisis that still is. A lot of people are still in the grip of it, so I'm sure that must have an effect.
yeah, yeah, it is what it is.
Mm.
Now, what? How has cabaret and how has the Fringe changed you as a person? how has cabaret changed you as a person?
Okay, that's a good question. I think um, ca- what I've learned about cabaret and what I've learned through doing cabaret around sort of authenticity and being in the moment and being, you're the big thing about cabaret is be in the here and now. So let's acknowledge where we are and what we're doing. And you might be a magician, or you might be a singer, or you might be a burlesque performer, or but you interact with the audience, and you kind of what's going on, and we don't pretend that we're anywhere else other than where we are. And I think that's a sort of a really good approach to have to life, if you can, because I think the world, the way that it's designed around us at the moment, it asks us to be distracted all of the time, and to look at your phone, or think about what you're doing next, or you're thinking about yesterday, or you're thinking about tomorrow. But it's very difficult to be present and be in the moment. And but it's all we've got, is right now what's happening. I could be thinking about me, I'm going to go swimming in the morning before I go and do my day job, but I might get hit by a bus if I go out for a walk tonight. And what I've got right now is that you and me are recording this podcast together. And that's all there is, and that's the magic of cabaret. And what I love about being on a stage in a cabaret setting is that there might be something that happens in that room in that night, whether it's like somebody drops a glass, something as banal as that, but that happened, and we were all there when it happened. And tomorrow somebody might not drop a glass, so it's a unique experience that we had together, and that's what makes it special. And the so I think it sort of helped me, the fact that I know that, and I realize that, and I understand that that's something that I really enjoy about being on a cabaret stage, is that I'm in the moment, and it's live, and we're here, and we're just paying attention to what's going on around us. It's made me understand that I could enrich my life outside of cabaret, by being in the moment and paying attention to what's going on around me in the moment that I'm in. That's not to say that I do that, because I'm a slave to my phone like most of us are. But I do think it's important, and I think it's where the real where the best experiences lie. Is kind of when you're just really, really present. So I think that's one thing that I'd say cabaret has done for me. And as far as the fringe goes, that's just been completely life changing. Going up there, and just things like wanting to do it, being afraid of doing it, and knowing that I can do it. It's made me really sort of solidified the fact in my head that I can achieve the things that I want to achieve. And it's made me much more confident about kind of putting my mind to something and knowing that I'm going to do it. It's made me a lot more confident in myself. Kind of, I don't have I believe that I can do things and will do things, because I have done things, and I could do things. I've done it, and I did all the things that I needed to do to get there, and then I did all the things that I needed to do while I was up there to survive, and I survived. And so that, again, that's just given me a really sort of a lot more self-belief. And the other thing that's been amazing about the Fringe is that I've met so many people, and I've learned so much more. I just go up there and I just get inspired, and I've learned about different types of performance genres, and that there's a lot more out there than there's mainstream stuff that we get bombarded with all the time, and that there are different feelings that I can feel if I go and see different performances and sort of challenge myself with the kind of things that I go and watch, and that there's more to life, and there's more to creativity, and there's more to expression, and there's more to all the emotions that you can feel and the things that you can do. And that's what it's been really good for.
And I want to say to you, what is the one painful thing that's happened to you in performing, or yeah, let's do it in performing. That's taught you the most.
That is a good question. Also, painful thing that's happened to me in performing. I think maybe just how I think when I started, you have all these ambitions about where you want to get to, and how and what you want to actually do, but you have to go through the pain point of being shit at something. You maybe I wasn't completely shit when I started, but I definitely wasn't as competent as I am now, and I've got so far to go in terms of how competent I could be. The and I remember acutely some performances where wasn't I wasn't singing the way that I wanted to sing. I imagine in my head how my voice will sound when I do these songs, but the fact is, if you I'm a, I'm as good of a singer as I am now because of all the work that I put in to train my voice. It's like I knew that it would be able to do these things, that but until I trained it properly, I can't rely on it. Like you might have long legs and be suited to long jumping, but you got to learn how to do a long jump. And I have an instrument that will do the things that I want it to do, but it's a muscle at the end of the day. So I did. You do your exercises and you do your training and you do your practice, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And I remember going to sing in a concert, and I'd picked this song to sing that I could sing in practice. I could sing it in a singing lesson, and it was my favorite song at the time, and I really wanted to sing it. And in performance, I was, quite inexperienced. The nerves got to me, and I couldn't get the notes out in the way that I wanted to. My voice was really shaky, and it was so upsetting because I knew that I could do it. That's what I thought. I know I can do this, so I should be able to do it, and I couldn't do it. And the reason I couldn't do it is because I wasn't an experienced enough performer. And I went through a lot of that in the beginning, where I'd feel like my voice didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. It's fine, but sort of I would notice that it was shakier than I wanted it to be because I didn't have the control over my body that I have now, that only comes with experience. So you have to drive through that pain tunnel of kind of, it's the only way to learn. You can't just you can't just be a you can't just be a good performer without putting the hours in, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. And a real learning curve is how different it is in the rehearsal room to how you feel on stage. And even when I love being on stage. I absolutely love it. But there are times when I don't enjoy it. They're few and far between, but it does happen. On good form, when I feel confident, I know what I'm doing, it's my favorite place to be. But the early on performances that didn't feel good, or when something went wrong, I'd beat myself up so badly about them. And now I don't do that anymore because I understand that I'm a human being, and sometimes I will forget a word. It might be a song that I've sung 7,000 times, but the learning curve around having to get over myself really and go, you can't expect yourself to be at a level that you're not at yet. You've got to climb the steps. And there were times when I remember doing a show at the Pheasantry. This was probably in about 2014 or 2015, and I pushed myself too far. I think I tried to put a two-act. Well, I put a two-act show together of sort of collection of songs and stories and stuff, and then I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't want to get on a stage for about 6 months after that. I couldn't bear to get on a stage. I judged myself so much throughout that performance that I found it really difficult to get back on stage. And now that I don't do that to myself. I do. I'll record myself and I'll watch myself, and I will um, try and take what's good out of a performance and notice things that I do that maybe I don't want to do. But I'll get over it so much faster. I've learned how to do that, because once a performance is gone, it's gone, and the judging yourself doesn't help. But it's very hard to learn not to judge yourself.
Hmm.
It's the sort of difference between, it's an ego thing, really, isn't it? Because I kind of, I dreamt of being this great singer, and then I'd go and do a performance as a new, as an inexperienced performer where I wasn't a great singer, and then I'd be upset with myself for not being a great singer. And it's like, well, of course you're not a great singer. You literally started doing this 6 months ago. But those are the kinds of things that I get upset about, and only by doing it, really, and getting to the point where I feel like I'm pleased with that, I'm confident about my abilities, do I understand that was a necessary evil of the sort of learning process.
Yeah, definitely. And for anyone that is listening right now and they want to find out about you, Emily, how do they find out about you?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram, uh, Facebook. What's the other one? Twitter. My all my handles are Welsh Girl Sings. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok, although I'm really ought to. I need to improve my social media game generally. My Instagram is usually pretty up to date, um, but that's kind of on my to do list, really, for the next year, is just to improve my social media outputs, because I mean, I was saying earlier on, comparison is the thief of joy. You shouldn't look at other people, but I just think I really ought to raise my game, actually, because a lot of people do it a lot better than I do.
Do they inspire you?
Yeah, yeah. You just, again, it's about discipline, isn't it? You just kind of like sit down and do it.
It's good to have those people because then you get complacent. We get complacent, don't we? We
Yeah, this
need
is
people
true.
that we
Yeah,
aspire to be.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So basically, there, I will. That's where you get the most up to date information.
Right. So, guys, if you know where to go to find out about Emily Davis and Blodwen, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. This episode is going to go out in a couple of weeks. Probably going to go out on early mid-November, sort of mid-November. And I'll see you guys soon. I think the next person I'm going to interview is going to be Lady Bushra, the the drag act who lives in New York now.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I hope you guys, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, take care, guys.